One of the games I really like this week, Rams plus 1.5 at Green Bay. So first of all, the fact that the Packers were able to beat Arizona missing 11 starters and compete with Minnesota when their tight end's out for the year, Aaron Jones is out, their number 3 receiver, their left tackle, they lost their center in the offseason, their best corner, their best linebacker. And now I get Sean McVay, who's never lost, leading at half with 10 days, 7 days of extra practice with OBJ. I've been told they're going to use a lot of stuff beyond 11 personnel. They're going to catch the Packers a little off guard. Aaron Rodgers isn't healthy. I like the Rams plus 1.5, sharp or square.
The Rams were the sharp side because this line opened at 3 and it has moved to Rams -1, which tells you everything you need to know about how this game started. The one thing I am thinking about, and we've talked about this last week. Remember, we talked about the syndicate last week. I am wary that there is a syndicate out there that is betting down the Rams because they do believe that that is where the public is ultimately going to want to bet, and they're going to want to get a better number on the Packers. So I'm a little bit skeptical that the sharp move is really a sharp move in favor of the Rams versus just wanting to get the Packers at home closer to pick.
Who do you like?
If it's a closer to pick, if it's Packers -1, then I like the Packers.
The other game I like is Broncos plus 1.5 at home against the Chargers. So what we're seeing with the Chargers over the last 2 years is a quarterback that's Andrew Luck, but not as reckless, who is overcoming last year a really bad O-line, and this year, regrettable special teams and a soft rushing defense. Is that we have to be honest about what the Chargers are. They're a pretty average team with a rookie coach, with a stupendous left tackle and quarterback and some nice weapons. But I think Denver's got a better overall roster, altitude, at home, getting points. This is the play for me. One of my favorite of the week, sharp or square. I like the Broncos.
This is how sharp you're getting. This is the wise guy's favorite play of the week. To the point where Simon Hunter, who's the professional bettor I co-host the favorites with, he told me in the podcast we recorded today, his phone was blowing up at 2:00 in the morning when lines were first starting to come out, East Coast time. Are you betting the Broncos plus 2.5? Are you betting the Broncos plus 2.5? Like, he was worried that he wasn't going to get there in time. And it's not just because, the wise guys tend to like short home dogs in these divisional matchups. It's really because they've been doing what you just described, is fading the Chargers for the past couple of weeks. They realized, and we've talked about this, that Ravens game that the Chargers had, that was a telltale sign. And that was a game in which the wise guys came in hard on the Ravens. And the reason why I go back a few weeks for a lot of these games, whenever we talk about these games, is because there are pivot points in a season where wise guys tend to understand, okay, this is the line of demarcation. This is when we truly understand what is true about this team and what has been sort of the fad that they've been riding, and there's going to be the regression. Going into that game, the Chargers were nearly perfect in 3rd and 4th down conversions, and that's how they were winning those games. That's what made Justin Herbert look like a world beater. That's what made Brandon Staley look so smart. In that game, they crashed back down to earth in the 3rd and 4th down conversions, and then nothing has changed since then. They're the same team that is struggling in those scenarios, and the mediocrity of the roster is catching up to them. We saw all that happen in their late game collapse in that game with the Steelers, which we both had the Steelers plus 6. But also their weakness plays to the strength of the Broncos. You mentioned their roster, their running game, two-headed monster in the running game. It's really good. The past 3 weeks, it's averaged 120 rushing yards per game. They call a lot of play action. That plays well against the Chargers secondary. And mostly, like, Teddy Bridgewater gets the ball out fast, gets it out accurate. The one thing the Chargers have a strength is Joey Bosa. That's mitigated if you've got Teddy Bridgewater, who can get rid of the ball so quickly.
Also, like the Colts plus 3, now 2.5 on FanDuel against the Buccaneers at home. So here's what's interesting about Tampa. They're really the same team as last year. So last year at this time, they were 7-3, averaging 29.6 points a game and giving up 22. This year, they're 7-3, averaging 30 a game and giving up 22. Their running backs last year were 31st in attempts. Now they're 29th. Last year, their issue was they have a 43-year-old quarterback that's immobile and a shaky secondary. Still the issue. You don't trust their special teams. We think, unlike Kansas City or Arizona or Green Bay, where there is a next level for their offense to go if it's healthy, this is what their offense is with a 44-year-old quarterback, pure pocket quarterback, with a shaky secondary in a passing league that doesn't run the ball. This is what they are. Good at home when Tom's comfortable, average on the road. The Colts, this is the season. They're at home getting points. And I'll say this about Carson Wentz. Go to his last 8 games. A lot of multiple touchdown, no turnover games. I like the Colts here. Sharp or square?
100% sharp. This is absolutely the sharp side. The Colts were the public dogs against the Bills, and then they showed out. It was exactly what everyone thought. A lot of people thought it would be. It's why everyone thought that line with the Bills was so off at +7, +7.5. But this line right now is as high as it is, with the opening at 3, and now it's down to 2.5, which also tells you the money is coming in on the Colts. It's because Tom Brady and the Bucs won on Monday Night Football, and they made the Giants look more inept than usual. But as you pointed out, the Bucs offense was not that great. It's just the Giants were so bad. Yeah. They fired their offensive coordinator less than 24 hours after the game. That is a telltale sign that whatever the Bucs were doing was not nearly as good as the Giants were just playing bad. Now the Colts, they have one of the best offensive lines in football.
They're
healthy. And that has been the problem with the Colts in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year. They had this dominant line of scrimmage strategy, not unlike the Patriots, but they didn't have all their weapons. So now they are healthy. That's why you're seeing Jonathan Taylor become the dominant player that he is. And they're playing against at home, like you said, against a team that has really struggled on the road. So yeah, if I can get a short home dog in this spot with a good team, and I'm not as sold on Carson Wentz. I still think he's prone to the boneheaded mistake. It just hasn't hurt him the past few weeks, but I do like everything else about this Colts team and this number.
I would take the Titans plus now 6 on FanDuel. It's the best pass rush Mac Jones will face in a month, and they don't have to blitz to create the pass rush. Tannehill without Derrick Henry is more prone to mistakes, but as I've often said, well-coached, talented teams off embarrassing losses virtually bounce back 90% of the time. I think New England's overinflated. I think this is an important game for Tennessee with the Colts now coming back. I like the Titans and the point, sharp or square.
It's sharp, and I'm sick about it, saying it. But sometimes betting means doing bad things. It doesn't mean doing the popular thing. It means doing the right thing. And for the past 2 weeks, you and I on this show, we faded the Titans. We have said they're overrated. Last week on the show, we said, bet the Texans outright. Bet them on the money line. I hope you did. I did. It's really the overinflation of the Titans that we were fading. Now is the overinflation of the Patriots that we're fading. And it feels really bad to bet a Titans team that is coming off an outright loss at home to a really bad team in the Texans, especially against Bill Belichick, no matter the situation, because when it was Belichick and Brady, those two were defying the odds in situational play every single week. Right. Anytime they are a double-digit favorite on the road, doesn't matter. Bet the Patriots. But we now have to consider that with all the bets coming in on New England, we have to think about the Titans, as you said, they historically play up to or down to their competition. They lost to the Jets and the Texans this year. They have wins against the Rams, against Kansas City, against the Colts. I mean, it's disgusting, but the Titans are the sharp side.
And finally, the game I haven't mentioned that you like and why.
Well, there's a couple. I still love the Texans. I'm going to ride that train. I've loved him ever since Tyrod Taylor came back. We didn't win against the Dolphins. He was a little bit rusty, spot on against the Titans. And look, they're hosting the Jets. This game was a 2.5. He's just a quarterback who consistently wins, and he puts his team in a position to win. We saw it in the first game of the year. We saw it when he came back against the Titans. The Jets do not have that in any way, shape, or form. Most professionals are making the Texans about 4-point favorites. I'm getting them at 2.5. So I like them here. I also, with the news that TJ Watt is likely to play, Mike Tomlin saying he expects him to play on Sunday. I like the Steelers at plus 4.5. This defense with him back against a really terrible offensive line, putting Joe Burrow in bad spots, that line feels a little bit too high for intra-division game that should be about 3.